panelists will going to answer all those questions after the session is over. And we will, the program of this particular today's webinar is as such. Inaugural address will be given by the our FKCCA President Perikal Sundar in his inaugural speech. After that, DP Nagendra Kumar sir, as Principal Commissioner of CBSE, will give an inaugural address and will give overall salient features of the program. And Manohar, FKCCA GST committee, you will going to talk, give a brief overview on the new scheme. And after that, my commissioner is on, Mr. Srikhar sir is on another meeting, virtual meeting with the GSTA. He's going to join during the meeting, and he may speak at that time. Let us look at his feasibility. And after that, there will be a detailed presentation by Superintendent Sabrina Cano from CBAC with the QRMP scheme. Do a detailed presentation. After the detailed presentation, we'll have a question answers. We'll spread out our time for question answers more rather than for any other discussions. I request the panelists, Perikal Sundar, Manohar, Prasad, and all the members who are not delivering on a technical lecture to restrict their speech in general to a minimum, wherein I'm going to moderate on that. With this, I am Murali Krishna, Additional Commissioner, Commercial Taxes, E-Governance. And thanks for all the participants who have joined the meeting. Shortly, I think still more people are going to join because of they also know that initially 5-10 minutes there'll be some issues will be there in connecting and all that. Many will going to join. Already, as our WebEx platform, more than 700 people are registered. We are planning to make a YouTube live once more than 1,000 people are going to join on this. And as you all are aware, I think 2 days back there was one small alert message which came to each and every taxpayers who have a turnover less than 5 crore and above. And everyone flagged their issue, what's happening, whether how we can default it already for Jan 2021. It is only a small typo or English error. I can say it's not that message. I think they might have corrected that message, and many people. Why I'm trying to tell you, say when the department and the association is coming forward to give a such awareness program on the new scheme, and this is a second awareness program of QRNP has been envisaged for one by the CBSE and CTD. Together we did a webinar on QRMP scheme. And this is another one that is initiated by FKCCA and this QRMP in detail. And we should thank FKCCA to join hands with CTD and CBSE to give awareness on this platform. And I also should thank not only FKCCA, CASIA and PAA and all other associations and taxpayers, officers who made their efforts to see that the taxpayers come onto the platform to listen to this particular QRMP scheme. And I now request Mr. Perikal Sundar to give his inaugural speech with reference to QRMP. I request to restrict the time is 5 to 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Sri DP Nagendra Kumar, Principal Chief Commissioner of Central Tax, and Mr. MS Srikhar, Commissioner Commercial Tax Department, Government of Karnataka, and Dr. B.V. Murali Krishna, Additional Commissioner of Commercial Taxes, Srimati Suburno Cano, Superintendent of CBIC Bangalore, my colleague CIS Prasad, Senior Vice President, and B.V. Gopal Reddy, Vice President, B.T. Manohar, Chairman, State Taxes Committee, FKCCI, all the past president, MC members presenting virtually, and all the participants in the virtual mode. At the outset, I would like to extend warm welcome to officers of the State Commercial Tax Department and CBIC who has agreed to conduct this program. This is the second series in the joint program by the FKCA and the Commercial Tax Department, CBIC. I would like to place in record cooperation of the Commercial Tax Department, without who it would not be possible to conduct a series of awareness program about GST. For the past 3.5 years, I look forward to the same support cooperation from the department to continue our journey in the successful of implementation of GST. FKCCI, always in the state interest of the trade and business community, and the representing the grievance of government of the seeking the redressal. The Commercial Tax Department, Karnataka and CBIC, Karnataka Zone, NIC, Bangalore have been very supportive to us so far in the journey of the GST implementation. We look forward your closer association in the future also. FKCI also be member of the state GST GRC and would like to discuss various issues trying to get the solution to the taxpayer problems. Taking another steps towards the goal of the increasing the ease of doing business in the India and providing the relief to small taxpayers. The GST Council in their 42nd meet on the 5th October 2020 proposed a quarterly return filing system for the small taxpayer implemented that the 1st of January 2021. QRMS scheme is the optional scheme that CBIC has rolled out the small scale business having aggregate turnover up to 5 crores rupees to furnish their returns on the quarterly basis along with the monthly payment of this tax. The small taxpayers would be only need file only 8 returns in the year compared to the previous 16 returns per year at the present. This scheme aimed to the cutting down the compliance cost. Smaller taxpayer who is the forced to engage professionals filing the returns. I would like to end my welcome address to requesting to eligible taxpayers who is using the scheme roll out by CBIC and make the deliberation and a great success, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, over to Murali Krishna, sir. ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳಿಸಿದ್ಯಾ?
Excuse me, sorry for the interruptions because of some technical glitches we had over here. And thank you, Berikal Sundar. Mano, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. Sir.
Yes, audible, sir.
Hello?
You are audible. Sir, you are audible. Hello?
Audible.
Yes, yes.
Five 23. ನಮ್ದು ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ದ.
Manohar, can you hear me?
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Manohar.
Sir, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Yes, audible. Go ahead,
Audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Sir.
Yes, thank you. Sorry for the technical interruptions we had earlier.
Hello. Hello. Namaskara.
Yeah, I can hear Manohar.
Yeah. To support the small PRMP scheme. ಒಂದು ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ
Hello.
ಹಲೋ.
ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Friends, good afternoon to all of you. To support small dealers, QRMP scheme has been initiated. It's 1st January 2021. Optional. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ಅದನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಸುಮಾರು
Egovernance Act ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
ಏನೇನು ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಇದೆ ನಮಗೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದಾಗ ನಾವು ಕ್ವಾರ್ಟರ್ಲಿ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಒಂದು 35% ಅಂತ ಮಾತ್ರ ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಪೇ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ CBIC ಸೂಪರ್ಡೆಂಟ್ ಅವರು. ಇದು ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಯಾರು ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಟರ್ನ್ ಓವರ್ಗಳು ಸುಮಾರು 1.5 crores ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರೋರಿಗೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಿಫಿಲ್ಡ್ ಚಲಾನ್ ಅಂತಾನು ಸಹ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತವ್ರಿಗೂ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ QRMP ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಈಗ ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಿಲೋ 5 crores ಯಾರಿದೆ ಅವ್ರು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. IFF ಅಂತ ಒಂದಿದೆ, ಇನ್ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಫೈಲಿಂಗ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. GST ಯಾವ್ದು ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ತರಹನೇ ನಾವೇ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಬಂದು ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಇರೋಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ತೆರಿಗೆ ಪದ್ಧತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಸರಿಯಾದ ತೆರಿಗೆ ದರಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಡೀಲರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲಿ ಬಹಳ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಗಮನಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದಾಗ ಇದೊಂದು ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದಿನ್ನ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಈ 7,05,000 ಜನ ಡೀಲರ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮು ಬಹಳ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ದಿಸೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು CBIC ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅವ್ರ ಸಹಯೋಗದೊಂದಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಶ್ರೀ ನಾಗೇಂದ್ರ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಚೀಫ್ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ CBIC ಅವರು ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಶ್ರೀಕರ್ ಸರ್ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಸ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಅವರು ಇದನ್ನು ಒಪ್ಪಿ ನಮಗೆ ಸಹಕಾರ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ FKCCIಗೆ. ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ BV ಮುರಳೀಕೃಷ್ಣ ಅವರು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಮಗೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಸಬ್ರಿನೋ ಕ್ಯಾನೋ ಸೂಪರ್ಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸೈಸ್ ಇವರ ಜೊತೆಗೂಡಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಏನನ್ನು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ. FKCCI ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ತಮಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಕೋರ್ತೇನೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವು ಭಾಗಿಯಾಗಬಹುದು ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಉಪಯೋಗ ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರಿಗೂ ಸಹ ಹೇಳಿ ಅವರು ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೀಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೋ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಈ ಎವ್ರಿ ಮಂತ್ 22ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು ಏನು ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ GST ಅಂಡ್ ಪೋರ್ಟಲಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅದನ್ನು ತಪ್ಪಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಉಪಶಮನ ಪಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಐ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು ಟು ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ಲಿ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಟ್, get your doubts cleared in interactive session and see that this scheme is utilized by the people who are eligible to do this. But ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್. ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇನಿಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್. ಬಟ್ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಬಹಳ ಉಪಯೋಗವಾಗಿದೆ. ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗೆ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಬ್ರಿನಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಏನು ಈಗ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮುರಳಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ BV ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಷನ್ಗೆ FKCCI ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಅನಂತ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಸೀನಿಯರ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ IS ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಅವರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮುರಳೀಕೃಷ್ಣರವರು ಇದನ್ನ ಮುಂದೆ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮುರಳೀಕೃಷ್ಣರವರೇ, ತಮ್ಮ
ಹಲೋ, ಹಲೋ, ಸರ್
Mr. Prasad sir, please address.
Good afternoon, respected Principal Chief Commissioner DP Nagendra Kumar sir, Murli Krishna sir, my President Perikal Sundar, BT Manohar and other dignitaries, all the participants. I would not like to take much time, but I'm very happy that the state government, the CTD Commercial Tax Department and CBIC have been coming forward to play a proactive role in conducting awareness program, make the assessees fall in compliance, thereby they can save the penalties and interest. We have been expecting right from 2017 GST how to go about ease of doing business. I think from beginning, they have been increased from 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs turnover. Now altogether, they've been increased to 5 crores, up to 5 crores once in 3 months filing returns. Certainly what we've been feeling GST in clutches will not be there. But only caution is that they should make the payment of taxes every month. We at FKCC always provide platform to the experts, and thanks to Murali Krishna sir and BT Manohar for coming forward, organizing the workshops and awareness. Thereby, we can expect always making compliance. I wish the deliberations of all the speakers, especially Sabrina Kano, in this attempt. 5,78,000 traders will going to get benefit. I think more and more awareness programs, and we need to have a video clipping. I think a video presentation, it should circulate among all the taxpayers for their benefit. So wish the delegation organizers. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prasad. Thank you, Sundar. Will be given by DP Nagendra Kumar, Principal Commissioner of CBSE, and I request DP Nagendra Kumar is a well-known person in GST implementation. Right from the last 5-6 years, sir, I have seen him through the drafting stage and during the implementation stage, and now sir is the Principal Commissioner of CBSE. Now I request DP Nagendra Kumar sir to give overall salient features on QRP scheme. Over to DP Nagendra Kumar sir.
Murali Krishna, I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. B.V. Murali Krishna, Additional Commissioner, Commercial Tax Department, Government of Karnataka. Mr. Perikal Sundar, President, FKCCI Karnataka. Mr. Prasad, Senior Vice President, FKCCI Karnataka. Mr. B.T. Manohar, Convener and Chairman of Taxation Committee of FKCCI Karnataka. And all of the participants. Indeed, we are grateful to all of you having agreed and participate in today's webinar on this important scheme, which has been primarily designed for small and medium taxpayers insofar as GST compliance is concerned. The QRMP, Quarterly Return Monthly Payment Scheme, as it is popularly known, is set to roll out from 1st of January 2021. It's just about 8 days from now. If you had filed October return, the GSTR 3B, and you are a monthly return filer, perhaps already in the GSTN portal, as Dr. Murali Krishna mentioned, you would have been auto-migrated to the QRP scheme by the GSTN portal. But as Mr. Manohar rightly pointed out, this is an optional scheme available. Though you are auto-migrated, you can still opt out of the scheme if you feel it is advantage. QRP scheme basically is applicable to those taxpayers whose annual financial turnover, annual aggregate turnover in the previous financial year is 5 crore and below. Of course, the scheme is not available to ISD and tax deducted source. It's only available for persons who are required to file 3B returns. Is basically would provide quarterly filing of returns instead of monthly filing of returns. This is the biggest advantage. Either two, you have been filing 12 3B returns, taking this to 24 returns in a year. The scheme aims to give only 8 returns years. So this itself is a concern in terms of. The second important feature is that you file quarterly return but pay the tax. Though the industry preferred that even the payment could have been quarterly, but the government has decided to introduce only a quarterly filing with a monthly. But the payment is given a much more optional route for all of you to minimize the cash outflow. There are two methods by which you can discharge the monthly payment. There is a fixed sum method and there is a the self-assessment method. The details I will go in detail. The second thing is that the department gives a facility for invoice upload. The invoice upload facility Again, this is optional. Even though you are opted for filing, not mandatory that you have to file the invoice through the invoice. You can continue to file it along with your GSTR1, but this is only a facility. The advantage of filing invoice furnishing facility is enable your recipient to immediately see the credit in GSTR2B. So hitherto, what was one of the major problem faced by the small and medium scale industry were quarterly filers. The recipients wanted instant credit, and they were questioned under section 36(4) with regard to mismatch credit. The invoice furnishing facility will address this concern squarely, and your recipient need not have any apprehension with regard to availing credit in the same month in which you have uploaded the invoice in the invoice furnishing facility. The third thing is that when you are filing the quarterly return and monthly, you are doing your own self-assessment or you are going for a fixed assessment. Not liable.
ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಇತ್ತು.
Late is also very
ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ more than 3 hours ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್
quarterly. Okay.
ಆವಾಗ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಬೈ ಹಾರ್ಟ್
With all this,
ಕೋಮಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಮೇತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ರು.
our appeal is that taxpayers who are eligible to opt for the scheme or who have been auto-migrated, we would request earnestly all of you to look at the scheme very seriously, because we feel that monthly filing of returns mandates you to complete the obligation in terms of computing your input tax credit liability, eligibility, and also your cash outgo. By opting for either a fixed sum method or a self-assessment method, whichever is beneficial to you, you tend to look at the input tax credit, what is available to you in the month in which you are paying the tax. Obviously, after setting up the input tax credit by CMP 06 by 26th of the month, you gain in terms of your compliance easiness. A lot of advantages are being rolled out in this scheme. We look forward to look at the scheme very carefully. In addition to the QRMP scheme, the government is also taking a lot of measures to simplify the GST compliance. The one what already we had FKCC along with the Commercial Tax Department and CBIC, we held one on e-invoicing. We're all familiar with that. Another important feature which has been given by the GSTN during the last month is auto drafting of GSTR2B. There is an offline tool for matching in the GSTN available for you to correspondingly verify what is the input tax credit flowing into that. There is also a facility for auto drafting the 3B. Of course, this is editable. You can include or amend or vary the values, but that gives you a benefit of minimizing the errors. And also, we are looking at a lot of correspondence between the taxpayer in terms of the GSTN portal facility. There is a communication tool established in the GSTN for you to communicate with your counterpart dealers in terms of the mismatches which may cause difficulties in your compliance. Efforts are on to simplify the compliance in GST. QRMP is one such step, and I congratulate once again the Commercial Tax Department, particularly the role of Dr. B.V. Muralikrishna and his team in organizing this seminar, effective coordination with FKCCI and also the other trade associations in reaching out the salient features of the scheme to the taxpayers at large in Karnataka. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the brief introduction on the QRMP scheme, and it has clarified for many taxpayers how actually this scheme works. Now, our Commissioner of Commercial Taxes, Shrikar sir, is joining the meeting. I think 1 or 2 minutes, and sir will going to give his inaugural address onto the QRMP scheme. Once sir gives the inaugural address scheme on this QRMP scheme, later on Sabrina Cano will take over. ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ FKCC ನವರು ನನ್ನ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೂ ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಸರ್, ಯಾಕೆ ಬರೀ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದು QRMP ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ವಾರ್ಟರ್ಲಿ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ 3 ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೊಮ್ಮೆ ನೀವು ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಕೊಡಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ತಿಂಗಳ ನೀವು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಇದಷ್ಟೇ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ಕಾಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್ಸ್ಗಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರಾಜಿ ತೆರಿಗೆ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಟುವ ಅವ್ರಿಗಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ತ್ರೈಮಾಸಿಕವಾಗಿ 3 ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೊಮ್ಮೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇದು QRMP ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಆಗೋದು. ಅದು ಏನು ವಾರ್ಷಿಕ ವಹಿವಾಟು ಅಗ್ರಿಗೇಟ್ ಟರ್ನ್ ಓವರ್ 5 ಕೋಟಿಗಿಂತ ಕೆಳಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಂತವರಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇವರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪೇ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗತ್ತೆ, ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ GST ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ನವರು ಇದನ್ನ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ನ ತಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ತಂದಿರೋ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನೀವು ಈಗ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಬಂದಿರಬಹುದು. ಏನಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು QRMP ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಂಗಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇರ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಇದು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ತೊಂದರೆಗಳು ಇದಾವೆ ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಕ್ವಾರ್ಟರ್ಲಿ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇರ್ಸ್ ಹೆಂಗ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂತ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ ಇನ್ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಫರ್ನಿಶಿಂಗ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. 50 ಲಕ್ಷ ಯಾರು B2B ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಕೀಮು ಇದ್ರೊಳಗೆ ಇದಾವೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈ QRMP ಸ್ಕೀಮು ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಅಂಡ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್ಸ್ ಗೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ GST ಮಂಡಳಿಯವರು ಈ ಒಂದು ರೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಮೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದನ್ನ ತಂದಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಈಗ ಜನವರಿ 2021ರಿಂದ ಇದು ಜಾರಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಇವಾಗ CBSE ಸೂಪರಿಂಟೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಸಬ್ರಿನಾ ಕ್ಯಾನೋ ಅವರು ಕೊಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. I request Madam Sabrina Cano to give a detailed presentation on this scheme. And in meanwhile, when my commissioner joins, sir may address the whole participants. I'll request Madam Sabrina Cano to give a detailed presentation on this QRMP scheme. Oh, Sabrina Cano, madam.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm audible.
You're audible.
Sir, you need to give me permission to share the presentation.
Sure, sir. Sure, ma'am.
ಯಾರು ಬಂದಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ದಪ್ಪವಾಗಿದೆ ನಾವು.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. This is a small presentation to just make you aware about the features of the scheme, the quarterly return filing and the monthly payment scheme, which was recently announced by the government for targeting small taxpayers. So at the end of the session, what we aim, you will be more educated about what the scheme is all about, who can join the scheme, when we can opt out and when we can opt into the scheme, how do you make the payment of taxes on a monthly basis, and how do you file the returns, and what are the other compliance behavior that has to be followed by the taxpayer who is under this QRMP scheme. That's what the aim of this presentation is. So to begin with, we won't waste much time, we'll continue. To begin, I will just start with how what is the legal basis for this QRMP scheme. When GST started, we all know that the law was framed in such a way that we had a return filing pattern of a GSTR 1, a GSTR 2, and your GSTR return actually, which is the 3. Then we had in between, since the GSTR 2 and 3 did not take off, a mechanism was brought in to have a summary return called the GSTR 3B. And the 3B is a return that is now currently in force. It is being filed on a monthly basis. In terms of the earlier section 39(1), it is being filed on or before the 20th of the month. Of course, the staggered filing is a different thing, but 20th day of the following month is the time stipulated for filing the GSTR 3B. Now, with this scheme that is being introduced for the benefit of small taxpayers, it was necessary to amend the statute itself. So in the Finance Act, when the Finance Minister announced that the government will be providing a mechanism for small taxpayers to reduce their compliance burden, immediately Section 39 was amended. And there was a proviso, Section 39(1) and Section 39(7) were amended to give the legal basis for this quarterly return filing and the monthly payment scheme. So now Section 39(1) reads that every tax registered person who, that is, it excludes certain people like the ISDs and the non-resident taxable person, a person who is under, composition taxpayer and TDS and TCS collectors, of course. They
Sabrina,
all,
can you excuse me?
yes, sir.
My commissioner has joined the
Yes, yes.
technical issues over my side.
Okay.
I request for 5-10 minutes so the commission can speak on this
Sure, sir.
QRMP scheme.
Sure.
Then we can take it
Yes.
further forward. Okay, sorry for the interruption. I request Speaker, Commissioner of Commercial Taxes, Karnataka, to speak on this QRMP scheme, sir. Over to Commissioner.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. I'm sorry I was delayed in another meeting, so I could not join. I'm very happy that this joint session with CBIC, FKCCI, and Commercial Tax Department is being undertaken on the QRMP scheme. As you all know, this is the latest innovative step based on the GST Council decision of October 2020, where small taxpayers below 5 crores will be benefited by opting for this scheme, where payment is made monthly but quarterly returns are filed. As you are aware, there was a lot of discussion and requests that return filing be simplified, and since large number of taxpayers face this problem of monthly return, an option may be given for filing of quarterly return. Hence, QRMP ಜಾರಿಗೊಳಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದು purely optional scheme. It is not mandatory. Even taxpayer below 5 crore can continue to opt for the regular scheme where 3B monthly return is filed and payment is made. However, if there is a need that they want to adopt this, they can choose so. So by default, it is a QRMP, but there is also an option to stay on the older scheme where they continue to file 3B and monthly return. However, this scheme has a number of benefits. I think ಈ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಸ್ತಾರವಾಗಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಬಹುದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಇದು ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಚಿತ್ರಣ ಸಬ್ರಿನಾ ಅವರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. There may be initial doubts about various aspects, including input tax credit, including other issues, which we can sort out during the question hour as well as in coming days. But now FKCCI ಅವರು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಔಟ್ರೀಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಔಟ್ರೀಚ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಈ QRMP ಬಗ್ಗೆನೂ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಅದು ಈ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ if there are any doubts on this, we can always have outreach programs in particular divisions, in particular areas. So this can be a continuous effort. In fact, FKCCI has partnered with us on many occasions, and this is one of the occasions we can partner on in popularizing the scheme. Further, in terms of our help desk in Commercial Tax Department, it has again post-COVID it has opened. So any issues that small taxpayers face on this scheme can be also addressed to the help desks, and they can be sorted out. So I think most important thing is how do we reach the maximum number of taxpayers and give them information about the scheme. Whether they opt for it and to what extent they opt for it is the second question. First, we should do a very conscious outreach, and this is the first attempt where both Commercial Tax Department and CBIC have come together. I already see more than 500 participants on this webinar, which is a very good sign. We will continue to partner. So I hope this is beneficial. I thank all concerned who have made this happen. I thank Murali Krishna, and I request Sabrina to start the detailed presentation. Thank you.
So, thank you, sir. Thank you. I request Sabrina Cano to continue the presentation, madam. Over to Sabrina Cano.
Yes, sir. Yes. So to continue from where I, left, this CGST Act, which was amended in the Finance Act 2019, it amended Section 39(1) to provide the mechanism for the quarterly return filing as well as the monthly payment of tax. So in Section 39(1), there's a proviso which got inserted. And in that proviso, it states that the government will notify a certain class of registered persons who will be eligible to furnish a return on a quarterly basis. That notification of the class of registered persons was issued by notification 84 of 2020 on the 10th of November. So this is the legal basis for the scheme which has been announced, the QRMP scheme. Now, as per this notification 84 of 2020, who is eligible to join this scheme? It is basically persons who are required to file 3B. So those who are required to file a GSTR 3B and who have an aggregate turnover of up to 5 crores in the previous financial year, they are the class of people who have been notified as being eligible for the scheme. Now, how is one to calculate this turnover of 5 crore? That is done by the GST portal. The GST portal will calculate the aggregate turnover of every taxpayer, and based on the returns which have been filed by that taxpayer. So on that basis, the aggregate turnover of whether you are within the 5 crore or not will be determined by the portal. And accordingly, the portal will take a decision to migrate you. As we move forward, I will tell you how that migration happens. But this is the eligibility for the scheme. Those who are within the aggregate turnover of 5 crore and who are required to file GSTR 3B. Now, the condition of the scheme is that you have to have filed the return for the preceding month. Whatever return is due to be filed by you, that return should have been filed for you to be eligible to opt for the scheme. That's one of the most important criteria. The other condition or feature of the scheme is that once you opt for the scheme, you don't need to do this process of opting in every quarter. Once you opt, that option continues to be exercised by the taxpayer until he changes the option himself or he becomes ineligible for the scheme. In the sense that if a taxpayer who has opted for the scheme crosses the turnover of 5 crore, then he becomes ineligible for the scheme, and in this next quarter, he will have to come out of the scheme and operate on the regular basis, not under the QRMP scheme. So that is one feature in the scheme. You don't have to bother about doing this opting in every now and then. Once opted, it stays the same until you change the option. Then who is not eligible for the scheme is, of course, those whose aggregate turnover exceeds 5 crore. They are not eligible for the scheme, and also persons who are referred in Section 14 of the IGST Act. This basically pertains to the cross-border OIDAR, that is online information and data retrieval services. That cross-border OIDAR services, they are not eligible for this QRMP scheme. So that is, other than these, everybody whose turnover is within the 5 crore limit, you can opt for the QRMP scheme, and it's effective from, of course, January 2021. Now, those of us taxpayers who are currently filing their returns, GSTN will migrate. In fact, the migration has already it's already been completed. The migration is done by GSTN, and GSTN will categorize you in a default option. So this is, in fact, this is what is creating a bit of anxiety among the taxpayers, because many of them have received emails and SMS recently that giving the status of what is the default option on the portal. And that the taxpayers are, what we experience has shown is the taxpayers are a little concerned about why the GSTN is terming you as a defaulter. I'd like to inform you that the messages which are going out by GSTN is only intimating you about the default option that has now been given to you, the default status given to you on the GST portal. So the status is like this. Those of you who have filed your October GSTR 3B on or before the 30th of November 2020, all of you have been migrated onto this QRMP scheme in this following pattern. If you were a quarterly GSTR 1 filer, that is your turnover was below 1.5 crores, you have opted to file GSTR 1 on a quarterly basis, you will be migrated into the scheme in the quarterly return scheme. If your turnover was up to 5 crores but you have opted to file the GSTR 1 on a monthly basis, then you will not be migrated into the scheme. You will be a monthly return filer by default. I repeat, by default. Again, those registered persons whose turnover is over 1.5 crore but up to 5 crore, you will be migrated automatically into the QRMP scheme. Now, these are default options given by the portal. The taxpayer is given the liberty to change this option. So there may be persons who are up to 5 crores who have been migrated into the QRMP scheme, but they do not want to join the QRMP scheme. So they have the option to opt out. Similarly, those who have been migrated by default into the monthly return, filing pattern, that is, they had opted earlier, they were well within 1.5 crore turnover, but they had opted to file GSTR 1 on a monthly basis. And by default, now GSTN has migrated them into a monthly return filer only. They can still opt for the QRMP scheme because if they are eligible and if their turnover is within 5 crore. So this default option is what is being communicated to the taxpayers by way of an email and an SMS. Please don't get perturbed with the words defaulter being used in that message, because I think GSTN has taken note of that and they have changed. What was coming as the word defaulter, which is being used in the message yesterday, I think has been changed today. And only to intimate you that on the portal, your status now goes into the deemed option, which is being communicated to you. Taxpayers can change that option during a certain period. That period is ending on the 31st of January 2021. So before 31st of January 2021, if you want to change the options which have been, to which you have been migrated to, kindly log in to the portal and exercise the change in the option. So this provision in the QRMP scheme to opt in for the scheme, it has been mandated by a new rule 61A, which is inserted into the CGST rules, and that rule is again effective from the 1st of January. So as per this new rule 61A, it states that you have to exercise the option on the portal. Once you join the scheme, you will be eligible to remain in the scheme continuously until you become ineligible. This is what I had already told you. And the procedure for opting in is available at any time during the year. The taxpayer at any point of time can decide to join the scheme, and at any time he can decide to come out of the scheme. But when he actually does it, there is a set period. Although the facility to join the scheme is there throughout the year, but there is a certain time frame. That time frame is always from the beginning of the second month of the previous quarter till the end of the first month of the quarter in which he is wanting to exercise the option. This time frame, we will explain it to you in a much more understandable way in the next slide. But just remember that when you want to opt in, you have to ensure that you can do that exercise of opting in during a certain time frame. Now, this option for the scheme is available GSTN wise. Although I told you that the eligibility to join the scheme is for taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is up to 5 crore, once the aggregate turnover is calculated on a PAN-based level by the GST portal, then every GSTN of that particular PAN can take an independent decision as to whether to join the scheme or not. So if a particular PAN has, say, 2 or 3 GSTIN, one of them can decide to join the scheme, whereas the other 2 registrations can be can be a normal taxpayers who file them on a monthly basis. They don't need to be part of the scheme. So this is purely an optional decision which you need to take, whether to join the scheme or not, and it is GSTN wise. Now, if during the current financial year, that is after having joined the scheme, the taxpayer crosses the turnover of 5 crore, then he has to opt out from the scheme only from the next quarter. So he will continue in that quarter, even though he has crossed the turnover of 5 crore. In that quarter, he will fulfill the obligation of whatever is to be done in that quarter, that is filing the quarterly 3B and the quarterly GSTR1. And in the next quarter, from the first month of the next quarter, he comes out of the scheme and has files it on a monthly basis, his returns. So this is what I was telling you, the timeline for exercising the options in every financial year. You will have to keep in mind these timelines for which you will, as to when to join the scheme or opt out of the scheme. Either way, whether to join or come out, both these actions need to be done in a certain time frame. So when you look at the quarter April to June, in any financial year, for the quarter April to June, the opting in or opting out can be done only during 1st February to 30th April for the quarter April to June. Similarly, for the quarter July to September, you will exercise the option between the 1st of May to 31st of July. For quarter October to December, the option will be exercised between 1st August to 31st October. And for the last quarter of the financial year, Jan to March, between the 1st of November to 31st of Jan. So you have to, the timeline, it works like this. From the beginning of the second month of the previous quarter to the end of the first month of the current quarter. So in that time period, you can change the option. Either you get into the scheme or you come out of the scheme. But whatever the action you are taking, it can be done only in this time frame. Okay. So this is basically a slide to show you the how the portal looks for you and where you will access the opting in for the QRMP scheme. So once you log in, this can always be done only when you log into the GST portal using your credentials. Once you log in, you will go to services, returns, and there is a link, opt in for quarterly return. Now, when you get into that link, it will give you the details of the financial year, and the option will open out like this. You will have a screen. Once you enter the financial year for which you are undertaking that exercise, the screen opens out and it will show you give you the monthly and the quarterly option. Now, the screen that is shown here is just a sample for for education purpose. It's shown for the year 2020. But it's just for an example. Now, those of you who are logged in, you will be able to see just one row for the quarter January to March, and there will be 2 radio buttons, one for monthly and one for quarterly. The default option is the one that is already selected for you. Like I said, GSTN would have migrated you to a certain option. Now that option is automatically highlighted for you. You can change it now. Once you change it, you have to save that change and then it becomes operational. The changed option becomes operational. Now, whatever you can, those of you who have not done this as yet, you can always log in and click on this link and you will see how you have been migrated and to which pattern of return filing you have been migrated by default. So this screen also gives you the timelines when you have to file the GSTR1 and the GSTR3B for that particular quarter. Okay, so now that we know how who is eligible and how do you opt in to join the scheme, we get on to the next part, which is the payment. Now the whole scheme is about a monthly payment of tax, while the return filing is on a quarterly basis. So the monthly payment of tax, again, statutorily, we had an amendment to section 39 1. I mean, the section 39 was amended, And subsection 7 was amended to provide for the monthly payment of tax for the quarterly return filers. So we have a proviso, just like the subsection 1, there was a proviso to mandate the scheme of quarterly returns. Similarly, the payment of tax also, there is a proviso which gives you the legal basis for paying the tax on a monthly basis. Now, this payment of tax, there is a notification which has been issued, notification 85, which is issued to give you the taxpayers a special procedure for payment of tax for those who are operating under the QRMP scheme. Now, like I told you, the entire scheme is a quarterly filing return with monthly payment. So in the first month and in the second month, there has to be some kind of payment of a tax, whereas in the third month only the return will be filed. So in this first month and second month, this particular notification says that the taxpayers can follow a procedure called the payment of tax under a fixed sum method. Okay, it's a fixed sum method, that meaning to say you can pay tax at a certain predetermined sum. So how does this fixed sum method operate? Now, those of you who are under the QRMP scheme, if you have in the previous quarter, if you were filing a monthly return, then under the QRMP scheme for the first month and the second month, you will be paying 100% of the tax which was paid by you in cash in the previous month, in the last month of the previous quarter. Okay, once again, I'll repeat. Those of you who are filing the GSTR 3B on a monthly basis in the previous quarter, previously you were filing a monthly basis GSTR 3B, then under this scheme in the first month, you will be first and the second month, you will be paying 100% of the tax which you have paid in cash in the last month of the previous quarter, right? Now, those of you who are filing the GSTR 3B on a quarterly basis in the previous quarter, then in the current quarter, in month 1 and month 2 of the current quarter, you will be paying 35% of the tax which you have paid in cash in the previous quarter. This will be explained in, by way of an illustration. I just want you to understand the theoretical part of it. So this is the one method which is given to you, a fixed sum method. And this fixed sum method, the amount is auto calculated by the portal. You do not have to break your head about how do I arrive at the 35%. It is done by GSTN, and an auto calculated challan will be available to you to make the payment. If you are not opting for the fixed sum method, there are some of you who cannot opt in for the fixed sum method. They are those who are the new taxpayers. Somebody who has just been registered in GST, who has got a GST registration, he will not be eligible to opt for the fixed sum method. Similarly, the composition taxpayer who has come into a normal taxpayer mode and has opted for the QRMP scheme, he will also not be eligible for the fixed sum method. Thirdly, anybody who has not filed their previous return, they will not be eligible to do the fixed sum method. So these, other than this, all the others have the option to opt for the fixed sum method. But if you do not want to opt for the fixed sum method, you have the facility to pay the tax on a self-assessment basis. This self-assessment basis is nothing but what you are doing even now. You determine your liability for both month 1 and month 2 based on what are your outward supplies and the input tax credit which is available to you based on your 2B which gets generated. So based on that, you will determine your liability and you will pay that actual liability both in month 1 and month 2. So this is the payment scheme that is there in the QRMP. You have two methods, the fixed sum method which again depends on your previous quarter's return filing pattern. The fixed sum method, the amount is auto-calculated by GSTN and a challan is generated. In the self-assessment method, you are determining your actual liability and you will pay the entire liability, whatever is due for that particular month. So this is an illustration given to you to help you understand how the payment works. Now, in the first example, this is assuming in the last quarter, the taxpayer was filing the return on a quarterly basis. Okay, so in the quarter January to March, if the tax paid in cash is 100 CGST, 100 SGST, 500 IGST, and 50 cess, then in the current quarter, you will be paying 35% of whatever has been paid in cash in the last quarter. So if 100 rupees was paid in cash as CGST in the last quarter, you will pay 35 rupees in the current quarter, April to May, as CGST. And this amount is auto-calculated by the portal. A challan is generated for you. When you opt for the fixed sum method, this challan is generated with auto-calculated figures. So you don't have to sweat about how much you have to pay. And then once you opt for the fixed sum method, this is how it will be done. Similarly, where those taxpayers who in the previous quarter were filing returns on a monthly basis, that is, they were not under the scheme, they were doing the monthly filing of GSTR 3B, and in April to May quarter, they've opted for the scheme. In that case, whatever cash is paid in the last month of the previous quarter, that is in the month of March, the same amount will have to be paid. 100% of that would have to be paid in both month 1 and month 2 of the quarter, April to June. In those 3 months, month 1 and month 2, the same amount of in cash, what was paid as cash liability in the last month of the previous quarter will have to be paid. So this is just an illustration of how the payment procedure works. Now, you have to understand this, that for the monthly payment, which is being done in month 1 and month 2, the payment is by way of a PMT 06. This payment, PMT 06 challan, is auto-generated on the GST portal, and it will have to be paid by the 25th of the following month. So this timeline is something that you need to be aware of. 25th of the following month, a PMT 06 payment has to be, cash payment has to be done. This PMT 06 payment is only a deposit. You are not debiting anything in month 1 and month 2. Those of you who are under the scheme, please remember that the debit will happen only at the time of filing the quarterly return. During the first month and second month, you will only deposit into your cash ledger the amount that is determined either if you are opting for the fixed sum method or the amount that you are determining by a self-assessment method. The debit will happen only when you file the quarterly return GSTR 3B. Now, this special procedure, I already told you that it is not available for those who have not completed, who have not filed a return for a complete tax period, meaning those new tax payers, that is those who are newly registered, those who have come into the GST normal taxpayer profile from a composition taxpayer, all these are not eligible for the fixed sum method. Such taxpayers, although they can opt for the scheme, they have to mandatorily do a self-assessment mechanism for payment of in the month 1 and month 2. The moment they file the GSTR 3B, from the next quarter, they can opt for the fixed sum method. So this is an important thing that you need to keep in mind. If there is anybody who has just obtained a GST registration during any quarter, they can opt for the QRMP scheme, but in month 1 and month 2, they have to mandatorily do a self-assessment mode of tax payment. That is a deposit by way of a PMT 06. Once they file the GSTR 3B, and the next quarter onwards, they have the facility to opt for the fixed sum method. Now, once you make a deposit into the PMT 06, in month 1 and month 2 that cannot be used for any purpose other than for the payment of tax at the time of filing the 3B. You cannot claim a refund, neither can you use that amount to pay for to use it for any other kind of payment. Okay. Now there are certain situations where the PMT06 payment need not be made. So if you have a balance in your cash and credit ledger, which is sufficient to take care of that 35% or the 35% or the self-assessed liability which you have, if you have sufficient balance, then you do not need to make a deposit. Similarly, that is in the first month. In the second month also, if you have sufficient balance to take care of the liability for the first and the second month cumulatively, then you don't need to make any PMT06 deposit. Third scenario is where you do not have a liability at all. It's a nil tax liability. Then, of course, you don't need to make any deposit by way of a PMT06. So other than these three scenarios, every month, month 1 and month 2, by the 25th of the following month, you will be making a deposit into your cash ledger by way of a PMT06. The amount of deposit depends on the method you have opted for, either a fixed sum method or the self-assessment method. So now we come to the present scenario. What is the return filing pattern of GSTR 3B? Initially, we had a notification which gave us the 3B filing dates for various taxpayers in various states also. Now that has been changed, and the entire staggered filing system has been brought into the rule itself. So you have a new sub-rule 6, which is inserted into Rule 61 to provide for the staggered filing of the GSTR 3B. This is what is the position up to December 2020. So the 20th of the following month, those taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is over 5 crore, they will be filing the GSTR 3B by the 20th of the following month. Those taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is up to 5 crore and who are in the whose principal place of business is in certain specified states, with Karnataka being one of them, they will file the 3B on the 22nd of the following month. Taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is up to 5 crore and whose principal place of business is in another set of specified states, they file the 3B on the 24th of the following month. This is the pattern of return filing which is currently in force and will be in force only till December 2020. Now, from January 21, we have a new set of provisions which come into play, which is your new Rule 61 that takes effect from the 1st of Jan. And from January, those taxpayers who are covered under 39(1), that is, those taxpayers who are not eligible for the QRMP and who have not opted for the QRMP. There are two categories: those who are not eligible, meaning their turnover is over 5 crore, and who have not opted for the QRMP also. They will file the 3B on the 20th of the following month. Now, those who have opted for the QRMP and whose principal place of business is in a certain list of specified states, with Karnataka being one of them, they will file the GSTR 3B on the 22nd of the month following the quarter. That is the pattern. 22nd of the month following the quarter. Again, another set of QRMP taxpayers, whose principal place of business is in the second list of specified states, they will file the GSTR 3B on the 24th of the month following the quarter. So this will be the pattern of GSTR 3B filing from January 21. Okay, we have 20th, 22nd, and 24th of the following month when 3B will be filed. Now, in a quarterly 3B, what will be the information, or what is the what are the details that will be entered at the time of filing the return? because in month 1 and month 2, you are only making a deposit into your cash ledger. Now, in the third month, when you are supposed to file your return, that return will contain all the details of whatever supplies you've made during the quarter. Okay, so you will have to total up the format of the 3B has not changed. Please remember, the format of the 3B has not changed, but the information that you will provide in that 3B is the information for supplies made or information for transactions made during the quarter, not during the month. So you will be giving the details of outward supplies made during the quarter and the ITC which is availed during the quarter. That also you have to remember. You will be providing the ITC availment during the quarter. That information will be given in your table 4 of your GSTR 3B. And when you are offsetting the liability, you will use the amounts that you have deposited in the cash ledger in the first 2 months will be used to offset that liability at the time of filing the quarterly GSTR 3B. Okay. After filing the quarterly GSTR 3B, if any amount is still lying in the cash ledger, you can use it for the next quarter or you can claim a refund. But that any refund which you are claiming has to be done only after filing the quarterly 3B. You cannot claim a refund during any of the months, previous 2 months in that quarter, you cannot claim any refund. Only after filing the 3B can you claim any refund. Now, this point about cancellation. Now, if any registration is cancelled during any of the months in the quarter, in the first 2 months of the quarter, you have to remember that you complete the compliance for that quarter. You are required to file the quarterly 3B. And only then you will be absolved of your, compliance obligations. So if assuming a taxpayer's registration is cancelled in the first month of the quarter, he should not assume that since my registration is cancelled, I don't need to file any more returns. That will not be the case. You have to complete the filing of the GSTR 3B at the end of the quarter by the due date, which is the if you're in Karnataka, you'll be filing it by the 22nd of the month following the quarter. But do remember that if your registration is cancelled, complete that return filing pattern for that quarter. Only then it is considered as all your obligations are met. Now, the other thing that you need to know is that nil filing of returns still continues through an SMS mode. That has not changed. So if you do have a nil GSTR 3B, then yes, you will be still permitted to file the return by way of an SMS facility. Everything stays the same. The number to which the SMS is sent, as well as the pattern of the SMS is also the same. The only thing is, what changes is that for the field the month, you will be mentioning the last month of that quarter. That is the month that you should mention for filing the nil return by way of an SMS. Of course, you have to remember that a nil GSTR 3B means that there was no liability both on the outward and the inward side. So unless you have nothing or no outward supply as well as no input tax credit claim, only then can a nil GSTR 3B be filed. Okay, but that filing by SMS option still stays and it will continue even when the QRMP scheme is launched in January. Okay. Now we come to an important aspect of this scheme, and that is how do you file your GSTR 1? All this while we were talking about the 3B and the fact that it is a quarterly 3B, and in the first 2 months of that quarter, you will be making a deposit into your cash ledger via PMT 06. But now, how do you treat a GSTR 1? Because as of date, those taxpayers who were within 1.5 crore turnover had the option to file GSTR 1 quarterly and or monthly, depending on how they have chosen the options. So now once the scheme comes into play from January, the GSTR1 filing frequency also changes. So for this purpose, there is a new rule which was again, it's inserted into the CGST rules, and that takes effect only from January 2021. And as per this new rule 59, which talks of the details of outward supplies, you have a filing frequency of either monthly or quarterly. So GSTR1 is now filed either monthly or quarterly, and you can file a quarterly GSTR1 only by those taxpayers who have opted for the QRMP scheme. So you have to remember now, only if you've opted for the QRMP scheme, you are filing a quarterly GSTR1. If you have not opted for the QRMP scheme, or you are not eligible for the QRMP scheme, your GSTR1 has to be filed on a monthly basis. So there is only two things now. Either you are filing a monthly GSTR1, or if you are under the QRMP scheme, you have to file a quarterly GSTR1. What is the due date for this GSTR1 from January? Then there is a notification, and if you are filing a monthly GSTR1, the due date will be 11th of the following month. If you're under the scheme and filing a quarterly 3B, then your GSTR1 will also be a quarterly statement, and that will be filed on the 13th of the month following the quarter. So for monthly filers of GSTR1, 11th of the following month. For quarterly filers of GSTR1, 13th of the month following the quarter is your timeline. Now, what happens between, in this quarter, what happens during month 1 and month 2 for the QRMP scheme people? They file the GSTR1 only at the end of the quarter. During month 1 and month 2, the supplies which are made, does it mean that your customers will not be able to take the credit during the first 2 months because you will be filing the GSTR1 only at the 3rd month? To avoid this problem, the government has brought in a facility called the invoice furnishing facility. Now, this invoice furnishing facility is available only for those who are operating under the QRMP scheme. And this invoice furnishing facility is completely optional. It is only a facility to enable these taxpayers who are under the scheme to upload invoices of their outward supplies in month 1 and month 2. Okay, please remember, it is optional. You do not need to go use the IFF if you do not want to. You can just directly go to filing the GSTR1. But if you want to use the IFF facility, it will be available only in month 1 and month 2 to upload the details of your outward supplies. Now, the IFF facility can be used up to which limit? There is a limit which has been set for the IFF. So you can upload invoices every month in month 1 and month 2 up to a cumulative value of 50 lakh. IFF will allow you to upload only that much of outward supply invoices. Okay. And what are the invoices that you can upload? Only B2B. Using the IFF, only B2B supplies and the debit notes and credit notes which are issued during that month for earlier invoices. Only that much information can be uploaded in the IFF. Only B2B supplies. So please note that the very idea of the IFF is to ensure that your customer gets the credit immediately. Okay, which is why only B2B invoices are permitted to be uploaded in the IFF. And you have to keep in mind the value, cumulative value of 50 lakh for every month. Now, there is a time period during which you can upload invoices using the IFF. The time period is from the 1st to the 13th of the following month. You upload the invoices for month 1. So let us assume in this quarter, January to March, for the month of January, whatever supplies you have made, The invoices can be uploaded using IFF between the 1st of February to the 13th of February. IFF facility will be open only for 13 days. After that, for that month, it gets closed. You will not be able to upload it for that month. Then when you go on to next month, that is February, whatever supplies you have made, you can use it and use the IFF facility and upload it between the 1st of March to the 13th of March. It gets closed after that. Okay. Then another thing you need to remember is, since IFF is optional, if you do not need to upload any invoices, all those invoices you can upload directly in the GSTR1. The other thing is, if you have used the IFF facility and uploaded invoices, you don't need to repeat them again in GSTR1. Okay. Once you have uploaded in IFF, you need not mention the same invoices again in GSTR1. Only the remaining invoices, supplies, details you upload in GSTR1. Okay. Then when you come to the filing of the GSTR1 at the end of the quarter, you will be giving all other details. The format of the GSTR1 continues to be the same. You will be giving the details of B2C supplies and all your export invoices, as well as all your nil and exempted supplies. Everything will be declared in the GSTR1. And also please remember that in the GSTR1 now, it has been made mandatory to mention the HSN. So HSN information has to be mandatorily given in the GSTR1. So this is your GSTR1 pattern, which you will follow from January 2021. If you have opted for the scheme, month 1, month 2, you can use the IFF, and at the end of the quarter, you file your GSTR1. Now, yesterday there were certain changes which were brought into the Rule 59, which pertains to filing of GSTR1. We have a new notification which has come into force, 94. And as per this, now the filing of GSTR1 will not be permitted if a taxpayer has not filed the 3B for the past 2 months. Now, this is for those taxpayers who are not operating under the QRMP scheme. They will not be allowed to file the GSTR1 if they have not filed GSTR3B for the previous 2 months. Those who are under QRMP scheme, they will not be allowed to file the GSTR1 if they have not furnished the 3B for the previous tax period. This is a very recent change. So it is now become mandatory to file your GSTR1 before filing the 3B. That information you need to keep in mind. From January, filing of GSTR1 before 3B is mandatory. Otherwise, it will not allow you to file the GSTR1 if you don't file your 3B. Okay. Then there is a new rule which is inserted, that is Rule 86B, which basically prevents a taxpayer, or rather mandates a taxpayer to make compulsory 1% of the tax liability in the cash ledger. This is a new 86B, which says that every taxpayer who has supplies of more than 50 lakh in any particular month, this 50 lakh is excluding your exempt and zero rated supply. So if your value is more than 50 lakh in a particular month, you can pay that liability by 99% of that liability alone you can pay from your credit ledger. 1% has to be mandatorily paid in the cash ledger. So that is a new rule again, which is inserted. Yesterday, the notification was issued. So this is some of the changes as regards the GSTR1. So please remember, from January, you will not be permitted to file the GSTR1 or the IFF for those of you who have opted into the scheme if you have not filed the GSTR3B. Please keep that in mind. Now, coming to the next part, which is your GSTR2A and 2B. Now, once GSTR1 is filed by the supplier, the 2B, the information gets auto-populated in a 2B of 2A of the recipient. So in the 2A, now you have certain information which is now newly available, which was not there earlier. You have the 2A in 4 parts. You have part A, which gives you all the details of the outward supplies which are furnished in the GSTR 1 or the IFF or the GSTR 5 that is filed by a non-resident taxpayer. In part B of the 2A, you have the details of the invoices which are furnished by an ISD in 6, GSTR 6. In part C, you have the information that is details of all the TDS and TCS, both deducted and collected as per the GSTR 7 and 8 returns. And in part D is the information about the import of goods and the goods which have been procured from SEZs against a bill of entry. So that information is now available in the GSTR 2A. Now, once the 2A is available to you, you have on a certain time frame. This 2A, of course, you know, is dynamic data which keeps auto-populating as and when the suppliers, file their returns or upload their invoices. But for purposes of taking credit, now we have a document called GSTR 2B, which is now made, legally valid also by way of the new rule 60, which is coming into force from 1st of Jan. That gives the legal basis for GSTR 2B. Now, 2B is a static data of information which is generated based on, of course, what is filed by the supplier. And that 2B, since it's static data, it will be available to the taxpayers from a certain date. So what is the information available in a 2B? Again, you have the details of outward supplies which are filed by the supplier in their 1 or in their or using the IFF. You also have the supplies which are from the return filed by the non-resident and the ISD, as well as the import details based on bill of entries filed. So this information, the 2B gets generated, and it is on the basis of 2B, GSTR 2B, that the taxpayer will determine the amount of input tax credit which is available to him. So when does the 2B become available to a taxpayer? In the first and the second month of a QRMP scheme taxpayer, during the first and the second month, the 2B will be available a day after the due date for furnishing the IFF or the due date of furnishing the monthly GSTR 1, whichever is later. So to translate this into relative actual terms, due date for furnishing the IFF, I told you, is the 13th. Between the 1st and the 13th, only the IFF will be open. 13th is the last date for uploading information on the IFF. So due date is the 13th of the following month. Now, due date for furnishing monthly GSTR 1 is the 11th of the following month. So whichever is later. So whichever is later is obviously 13th. So a day after that, which is the 14th, on the 14th day, the GSTR 2B becomes available for the QRMP taxpayer. Please remember, on the 14th of the following month, you will be able to generate your GSTR 2B. It will become available to you. You can determine, those of you who are doing a self-assessment method, you can determine your liability by taking into account the input tax credit available to to you in the GSTR 2B, which becomes available on 14th of the month. Okay. Now, for the third month of the quarter, the day after furnishing the quarterly GSTR 1. Now, quarterly GSTR 1, again, the due date is the 13th. So again, a day after that, which is 14th, your 2B will become available to you. So uniformly, in all the 3 months of the quarter, 14th is the timeline when you will be when it be possible for you to see the credits available eligible to you, available to you based on the GSTR 2B. So keep in mind, it's the 14th. Now, this is basically, to sum up the return filing structure, which is available, which is currently in force, and what is to come from the 1st of Jan. So currently, what till December, what we have is that based on the aggregate turnover, taxpayers are in two categories. One is more than 1.5 crore, and those who are up to 1.5 crore. The ones who are more than 1.5 crore, they are filing a GSTR 1 on a monthly basis, and 3B, of course, uniformly everybody is filing on a monthly basis. So those who are up to 1.5 crore, while 3B is being filed on a monthly basis, they have the option to either file a GSTR 1 monthly, or they can opt for a quarterly GSTR 1. This is the pattern of return filing which is currently in force. And this changes slightly from January. The aggregate turnover segregation comes up to 5 crore. So those who are more than 5 crore, they will follow a return filing pattern of monthly returns only. Both GSTR 1 and 3B will be monthly. Those who are up to 5 crore, they have the option to join the QRMP scheme and file both GSTR 1 and 3B quarterly, or they do not opt for the scheme, they stay out of the scheme and file GSTR 1 and 3B monthly. So please remember, if you are opting for the QRMP scheme, your GSTR 1 and 3B will be filed quarterly. Otherwise, everybody files monthly GSTR 1 and a monthly 3B. So that's the position from January. Now, as far as your dates in a particular month, you have to keep in mind that those who are not under the scheme, that is, those whose turnover is over 5 crore or who have not opted for the scheme, you have to file your GSTR 1 on the 11th of the following month. You have to file your 3B by the 20th of the following month. They are the two dates you need to keep in mind. Those of you who are not under the scheme, 11th of the following month, GSTR 1, 20th of the following month, GSTR 3B. For those of you who are under the scheme, you have a certain pattern. 13th, you will have from the first day to the third, month 1 and month 2, you will upload the invoices on the IFF facility if you are using it. Again, I repeat, if you are using it, it's purely optional, you don't have to. So 1st to the 13th, use the IFF. 25th, make a PMT06 deposit, and at the end of the quarter, 22nd, you will file your return. 13th, you will file the GSTR 1, 22nd, you'll file the 3B. So that is how during the quarter, in month 1, IFF between 1st to 13th, and 25th is the PMT06. Month 2, 1st to 13th IFF, 25th PMT06. For the third month, you will have to file the GSTR 1 on the 13th and the GSTR 3B on the 22nd, being Karnataka. Okay, so that is how your calendar, you should make note of these dates, and as far as the return filing compliance dates are concerned, these are things which you need to remember. Now, coming to the most important aspect of interest under the QRMP scheme. So under the QRMP scheme, like I said, first 2 months, you are only making a deposit. That deposit is offset by you, or utilized and offset by you in the third month when you are filing the GSTR 3B. So how does the interest component work? In the sense, how do you, when is it that you pay interest, and what amount do you pay the interest? So you have to, the first cardinal rule is that if you have made your PMT06 payments by the 25th, and you have filed the GSTR 3B on the 22nd without any delays, that is month 1, month 2, you have made the PMT06 by the 25th. Third month for the quarter, you have filed the return by the 22nd. There is no interest at all, even if your fixed sum, whatever is the amount you've paid in month 1 and month 2, if that amount is much less than your actual liability at the third month, okay? Even if the actual liability is much more than what you have paid in the PMT 06, but all the challans as well as the return have been filed by the due dates, there is absolutely no interest that is attracted. The interest comes into play only when you default in the filing of any one of these. That is, either the first month PMT 06 is delayed, or you have a delay in the second month PMT 06, or you have a delay in the GSTR 3B. In that, if there is a delay in any one of these timelines or in all of these timelines, then you have the interest that is to be paid by you on the differences on the amount that is paid. Now, if you look at this chart that is here, I've given an example on this. If you see the second row, the tax which is due in month 1 is 35, and that PMT 06 is not filed on the 25th, it is filed late. In that case, but the PMT 06 for the second month was filed in time, the GSTR 3B is filed in time. In that case, you will still have to pay interest for the 35 rupees from the due date of the PMT 06 till the date it was actually, the challan, the payment was actually deposited. So for those days, you will have to pay the interest. Similarly, in the next row, if you see the next second scenario, the first month PMT 06 is in time, the second month PMT 06 is delayed, 3B is in time. But still you will have to pay the interest on the 35 rupees for the delay in the second month's PMT 06. Similar, so if you go to the last example, all the three timelines have not been met. Neither the first month, second month PMT 06, nor the return. So in that case, all the three, for the entire amount, you will have to pay the interest, but by calculating the number of days delay in each case. So number of days delay in the first month's PMT 06, number of days delay in the second month's PMT 06, and the number of days delay in filing the 3B. So interest will be calculated on all of them. Okay. So that is how now this is for the fixed sum method, the interest payable on the fixed sum method. As far as those who are opting for the self-assessment method, again, theirs is again very simple, because self-assessment is you are determining the liability based on your outward supplies and the amount of input tax credit available to you. So if in month 1, month 2, and month 3, you have determined your liability, and you have also determined the amount of input tax credit which is available to you, whatever amount that you have paid by way of PMT 06, the cash liability, if that liability is paid in time, no interest. If any of that liability is delayed, then interest will be calculated only on the cash component. That is as per your section 50. So that's the simple thing about the interest as far as the self-assessment procedure is concerned. Coming to the last part of it is the late fee. Now, as of now, we have late fees for delay in filing the GSTR 3B and the GSTR 1. Now, once taxpayers get into the QRMP scheme, you have to remember that the late fee for filing the GSTR 3B and GSTR 1 continues. Even for the late quarterly QRMP scheme filers, the late fee will apply, but it will apply only for the delay in filing the 3B and the GSTR 1. There will be no late fee if the PMT 06 is filed beyond the due date. So due date being 25th, if PMT 06 is filed beyond 25th, then there will be no late fee, but of course your interest will come into play. So late fee is not there, only the interest component. So with that, I end the presentation, and I will, hand the floor over to Additional Commissioner, and then probably we can open it out for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina Khanna, for your very lucid presentation about QRMP scheme. This is the second time our participants are hearing about this QRMP with the latest updates. I hope all the participants could able to get the hang of what actually the QRMP scheme, that is quarterly returns, that is GST1 and GST3B, and monthly payments based on fixed sum or on the self-assessment mode, the PMT 06, and how actually the credit can be taken forward and how the liability is calculated. and further where the interest is levied, how the interest is levied, and how the default has happened, and also the where the late fee comes into the picture. I hope the taxpayers could able to get the overall view of how the QRMP scheme works, and also with respect to the latest laws as on yesterday's notifications, which would affect from 1/1/2021, with pertain to 36(4) and 16(4) and other issues. She has explained very in detail. And let us open the session for question and answers, so that many question and answers can be answered in this particular, can be clarified. And for the question and answer session, from the CBSE, even the Principal Commissioner Nagendra Kumar sir and his team will join, and from from our CGST, myself and even commissioners is there in the panel, and also from FKCCE, Manohar and Manohar present is in the panelist. Okay, we will going to answer. And first and foremost, I would like to regret for the outage of the technical issues during the beginning of particular this session, and there was some network connectivity from our end and also from the service providers. So I'll regret for that particular whatever the issues which we had, and with that regret, and because some of the participants have raised that particular issue about audio, video, all such issues. Let me read out the questions from my side, which is relevant to this particular QRMP scheme. Then further we'll take it forward, and we'll open this particular session for a question answer session now. Yeah, the first question is messages are sent to all SSCs that they are defaulter from January. If they're not selecting, I think it has been quite clarified. There was error in that message. I think Madam has clarified that particular thing. And only one should understand that one has to opt for whether, because by default, everyone has migrated into QRMP scheme, and the taxpayers can go to their login services.gst.go.in, and they can opt out for if they don't want to be in QRMP scheme. I think it has been clarified during the session. Yeah, the next is, sir, it is compulsory to everyone, QRMP below 5 crore or its choice. Now it's a very clarified, it's only optional scheme, it is not compulsory. I think I'm clear on that, Sabrina.
Yes, sir. It's totally
Yeah,
optional.
it's very optional.
Can I come in now for a minute?
Yes, sir, please, sir.
Yeah, I think we just want to repeat the clarification what we are given. This scheme is purely optional. It is for the taxpayer to opt for, because what we are trying to provide in this scheme is that instead of filing a monthly return, both R1 and 3B, we are trying to give a quarterly option for you to file the return. Even in respect of the payment on a monthly basis, the invoice furnishing facility is also purely optional. If you are doing a B2B transaction and your recipient is in urgent need of the input as credit for which 2A will have to flow into a 2B, then your invoice furnishing upload will enable them to avail the credit, notwithstanding the fact that your R1 will file only on a quarterly basis. So both the options, that is filing of return and invoice furnishing facility, as also the option whether to pay fixed sum or self-assessment, it is left to the taxpayer to opt for. We will look forward that you will find the scheme attractive. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And the another question is, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇದರಿಂದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್ಗೆ ಆಗುವ ಅನುಕೂಲತೆಗಳೇನು? ಏಕೆಂದರೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರವೇ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಭರಣೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲವೇ? So what is the useful for all the taxpayers? Only will going to be the tax after all calculations only made. That's the reason I think sir also has clarified just now. This is only optional. That's not that it is a mandatory that they have to go for QRMP scheme. I think as I know, some the chartered accountants and even the officers, even the council has made a calculation. It is going to be beneficial for some of the taxpayers. And looking at their beneficiality, they can opt for this particular scheme. Otherwise, they can be in a monthly filing the returns and monthly payment of tax. That's no compulsion that they should get to the QRMP scheme. Sir, please, sir.
ಇದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ. Again, the same point. See, this is a scheme that is optional. If the taxpayer below 5 crore feels that 3B filing ಮತ್ತೆ monthly payment ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಇದೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಅವರು 3B ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅದು ಅವರು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒತ್ತಾಯ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದು QRMP ಗೆ ಬರ್ಲೇಬೇಕಂತ ಒತ್ತಾಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಹಲವಾರು ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್ಸ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ಮಾಹೆ ಇದು 3B ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಾರ್ಟರ್ಲಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಒತ್ತಾಯ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು. ಆ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ QRMP ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಪೇಮೆಂಟು ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ವಿಚ್ ಹಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಫಾಲೋಡ್. ಅದು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತು ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಆದಾಯ ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅನುಕೂಲಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಕ್ವಾರ್ಟರ್ಲಿ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಂಟೈರ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ ಟು ದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್. ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕಂಫರ್ಟಬಲ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಫೈಲಿಂಗ್, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ. There is no compulsion to shift. However, if you feel that this will benefit, it will become easier for you, please adopt it. So let us be very clear about it.
Thank you, sir. The another question is the ITC can be taken by monthly filer whose turnover is in excess of 5 crore if they have a supply from QRMP vendor. I'll repeat, is the ITC can be taken by monthly filer whose turnover is in excess of 5 crore if they have a supply from QRMP vendor. I think sir has clarified on that aspect. There was a invoice furnishing facility is being provided for the QRMP vendor. I think the Sabrina madam can explain in detail on that.
Sir, I think I will explain this. As long as the entry is made in the invoice furnishing facility and it reflects in the 2B of the following month, subject to the condition of Rule 36(4), which is 10%, which is not reflecting in 2B, a monthly filer can definitely take the credit.
Okay. I think now it is from 1/1/2021 it is 5%, it seems.
Absolutely.
Some changes since yesterday.
94/2020 notification has been issued. Now it has been reduced from 10% to 5%. That is from
from
January 2021.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And the next one is, if we file GST-1 and 3B of a due date, can we pay the late fee?
Sir, the GSTR 3B definitely, as Sabrina explained in the last slide that was there, she did tell you that where the 3B is filed beyond the due date, the late fee has to be paid. However, for PMT 06, there is no requirement or there is no late fee in regard to it.
Okay, it's only for late filing of the returns, and the 3B is the late fee.
Yes.
Yeah. Next, in how will you offer fixed sum method or self-assessment method?
Sir, the notification 85/2020 gives a facility to the taxpayer to opt for either the fixed sum or the self-assessment on the portal. The portal now, if he is choosing a fixed sum method, the system will pre-fill a challan to the extent of 35% of the previous quarter's cash liability. And if it is monthly, it will populate the cash liability that is paid in the previous month. So the taxpayer can either choose the fixed sum method or the self-assessment method in the first month or the second month or in either of the 2 months.
Yeah. Thank you. Another question is, can we file GSTR 3B monthly and GSTR 1 quarterly?
No,
I don't think in this QRMP scheme it is not so. They have to file 3B in 1 quarterly only when they opt for. I think there's no the toggling of 3B in 1 quarterly and monthly.
Yes, sir. Rule 59(2) provides a facility that all those taxpayers who have opted for the QRMP scheme or who are covered by the proviso to Section 39(1) have the invoice furnishing facility. So I think they'll be filing a quarterly GSTR 1.
Yeah. And can we choose a fixed sum method for the first month? Sir. Sir.
See, another aspect is that we have found that below 5 crore turnover, there is a large pendency of 3B filing. Whereas above 5 crore turnover, the compliance rate is much better. Below 5 crore turnover, the filing of 3B and the compliance is much lower. So this scheme will also benefit those who are not in a position to file 3B monthly. They can make use of this scheme. Of course, they have to up-to-date file their 3Bs. but this will help in future because they can file once in quarter. So this will help in compliance also if they adopt.
Yes, sir. Can we choose a fixed sum method in the first month, and then second month we can choose a self-assessment, that is a payment of taxes? Can we toggle there also?
Absolutely. If you the notification 85/2020 in the first paragraph itself says that you can do it for the first month or the second month or either of the 2 months. That is, you can opt for the fixed sum method. You can choose between either of the 2 methods in either of the 2 months.
For the payment, there is an option, whereas for the filing the returns, it's quarterly only.
Once you exercise the option for a quarterly, that is, you go into the QRMP scheme, you are subject to the quarterly GSTR 3B and a quarterly GSTR 1. The most beneficial aspect that is provided is the invoice furnishing facility, which I think many quarterly taxpayers had this particular complaint that the recipients were not, the details were not auto-populating in the GSTR 1s or the GSTR 2As of the subsequent month. It will only auto-populate after the quarterly GSTR 1 is filed. The invoice furnishing facility has definitely provided this particular option. It auto-populates at the end of the same month, subject to the condition that the invoice furnishing facility has been uploaded before the 13th of the following month.
Okay. The next question is, if majority vendor are of QRMP and they are filing GST1 quarterly, then the assessee who is filing monthly turnover in excess of 5 crore will end up in paying tax in first 2 months and ITC will be allowed only in third month.
Absolutely no. That is what I think, if you were to recall what Sabrina told, that the invoice furnishing facility that has been provided for the quarterly GSTR1 filers will facilitate that the moment the invoice furnishing facility, in the invoice furnishing facilities, the invoice details are entered for a particular month, it will auto-populate into the 2A and 2B of the monthly recipients. The moment it is there auto-populated into the 2A and 2B, the credit can be taken on a monthly basis itself. The invoice furnishing facility is precisely provided for this reason.
Can I come in, Murli?
Yes, sir.
So this is a good question, but as answered, and IFF, though is optional, it is up to the recipients to convince their suppliers to follow this IFF facility so that they can avail the benefit. So it is also, a change in business practice and business culture. So this also should be made clear so that they get the benefit.
And another thing, sir, to add on to this, those who have in the invoices for IFF, once again the same thing need not be filed in the GST1, sir. That option also is there in that scheme. The next one, under section 62(2), where the registered person furnishes a valid return within 30 days of the service of the assessment order under subsection 1, the said assessment order shall be deemed to have been withdrawn, but the liability of payment of interest under section 51 or payment of late fee under section 47 shall continue. But will the best judgment order will be final even if return has been filed but after 30 days? Will remedy be appealed under section 107 or will it be quashed automatically on filing return?
I think we have moved out from the QRMP scheme to the assessment.
Murli, can I reply to this?
Yes, sir.
I think it's slightly connected to the topic with which we are working on today. This is regarding the quarterly return filing on a monthly payment basis. The queryist basically is trying to seek an answer whether a best judgment assessment done for a non-filing, if it is filed within 30 days from the date of best judgment assessment in the form of ASMT 13, would automatically stand deemed to have been withdrawn. But if the return do not get filed within the 30 days from the date of ASMT 13, if he files the return subsequent to that date, no harm. They have to go in appeal and get an order to the effect that the appeal allows them to come back to the schema. The assessment, the self-assessment is restored. But the delay in payment of tax from the due date on which return is required to be filed and the payment due date, if it is defaulted, the return interest will have to be paid. And in cases where an assessment follows with a penalty, then appellate decision will provide. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the clarity. And another question, the same question, whether the GST 3B monthly and year 1 quarterly, which has already been explained. Once you opted for QRMP, both 3B and 1 is quarterly only. And is IFF is mandatory. The IFF is mandatory means once you opted for QRMP scheme, and if the recipient being the person who is more than 5 crore turnover, who is not out of QRMP, if he wants to have ITC credit, I think at that time this QRMP person has to upload IFFE, that invoice furnishing facility, so that seamlessly the buyer can receive the ITC credit. Any other panelists can add on to this?
So can I just add to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what I see, IFF is purely an optional facility for the QRMP taxpayer. If he, say for example, there are 10 invoices that he makes supply to a B2B, that is to another registered person, the taxpayer can choose to enter only 2 or 3 of the invoices in the IFF, or all the 10 he can do. But definitely the recipient will be getting his auto-populated 2A, 2B only if the IFF entry is made. If it is not there, definitely the recipients will not be, the entry will not be visible in the 2A and 2B, and the recipients will object to that particular response. It is advisable that whenever a supply is made to a B2B, that is to another registered person, the IFF facility is made use of, but it is purely an optional at the discretion of the taxpayer, the QRMP person who was opted into the QRMP scheme.
Thank you, sir. Then another question. Yeah. Yes, sir. The next question is, in case the QRMP scheme has been opted by vendor, but in case he does not update the invoice in IFF, can I take in my monthly returns and not wait till the 3rd month?
Sir, again, it is subject to Rule 36(4). As I think the Additional Commissioner himself explained that from 1st of January, it is 5%. Till 31st of December, it is 10% of the documents that are not there, not been furnished in the GSTR ones.
Yes. So I think there are no much questions now. In the Q&A, one question. Let me go to the Q&A. There are no much questions, sir. I think most of the questions have been answered in the chat itself. In the Q&A, there are no questions. I think another one just now add on. If e-way bill is made to an invoice, should we again upload invoices IFF, or will it be automatically reflected to the customer? I'll repeat once again. If e-way bill is made to an invoice, should we again upload invoice in IFF, or will it be automatically reflected to customer? I think there is a confusion among the taxpayer. Say e-way bill is totally different document altogether for the movement of goods, and that particular data will not get auto-populated anyway. And invoice, the e-invoicing, I think he's getting confused. The e-invoicing and e-way bill there. For uploading invoice in IFF for the benefit of the recipient, I think once you operate for QRMP, IFF is optional, which if you upload only the invoice details, the recipient can avail the ITC benefit. This is what I can give a clarification, though the question is little confusing.
Sir, can I just add to that?
Yeah.
Sir, actually what happens, I think the person who's asked the question is because the GSTR 1 has an option to auto-populate based on the e-way bills that have been already generated. Is that facility available also for an IFF? I think as of now, it is not there. Maybe going forward, it will provide a particular facility. The GSTR will definitely auto-populate from the e-way bill data. So I think that is why the question is asked whether the IFF also will auto-populate based on the I think let us wait for some more clarity on that. I don't think it is there as of now.
Thank you. The next one is, in case monthly turnover exceeds 50 lakhs, whether 1% of tax liability or 1% taxable value, what needs to be paid through cash ledger? I think it's particularly a recent amendment.
Yes, sir. What the person is referring to is Rule 86B, which will come into effect from the 1st of January 2021. It is very categorical that if the taxable value, that is the value of taxable supply exceeds 50 lakhs, 1% of the tax liability needs to be paid from the cash ledger. 99% from the credit ledger, 1% from the cash ledger. But there are certain exceptions that have been provided in Rule 86B. If you are covered under the exceptions, then you will not be required to follow that particular restriction.
Okay. So in a regular filing of GST return, can we claim input tax credit even after the credit received after 11th of month in the same month itself?
Sir, I think this is a concern that is there. I think you have also explained this, saying that from the 1st of January it will be reduced to 5% in terms of Rule 36(4). What we need to keep in mind, I think basically what we need to keep in mind is the GSTR 2Ps, which is an auto-populated statement that comes based on the GSTR ones filed by the suppliers. 5% from January 1st and 10% up to 10% from till 31st of December is the eligible credit in terms of Rule 36(4).
Yeah. As input received after 11th of the month, but it is available within due date. Okay, that's explained. Do we need to claim the input as per GSTR 2B? See, that's what is being clarified now by the CBSE official. And sir, what about Annexure 1 and 1, 2? I think Annexure 1 and 2 have been deferred. It is in the cold storage as of now. I think I have no idea. I think Nagendra Kumar sir or Shekhar sir can speak on whatever pertain to this Annexure 1 and 2.
I request Shekhar to handle this question if he's there.
Yes, sir is there. Sir is there.
I think Annexure 1 will know that it is going to be implemented at the moment, and there will be a modification of the existing return system, and the new return system will be more robust in the coming months. You will get more information as we go forward.
So I think we are come to a closing session. I think most of the questions have been answered, and there are less questions means there is more clarity to the taxpayers. Till now, there are 477 participants are still there in the webinar. It shows the much interest what they are shown to participate, and I should congratulate the FKCCA to give a platform to communicate this particular QRMP scheme to all the taxpayers. And also, I should thank all the officers of CBAC and CTD department to see to that the taxpayers are being attended in a large numbers to have this particular awareness on QRMP scheme. And yes, sir. Sir.
Nagendra Kumar sir also might want to.
Yes, sir. I will. Yes. And I request, sir.
Go on.
Yeah. So with that, all the association are given an active participations and for this particular propaganda. And I request CBSE Commissioner Nagendra Kumar to say a few words, and then later my Commissioner Shekhar to say a few words on this particular. Then we will close this particular webinar session. Over to Nagendra Kumar sir.
Thanks, Murli. I think it has been a very engaging conversation for the last 2 hours with all our partners, stakeholders, both from the FKCCA and all the participants in today's webinar. The presentation made by Ms. Sabrina Cano, I think we will make it available in both CTD portal as well as in our Karnataka Central GST portal. We will make available. Probably QA also, whatever it is there, we will summarize and put it across for everybody's benefit. As Mr. Shekhar has correctly mentioned, the scheme is purely optional, targeting the small taxpayers who are finding difficulties in filing returns. We hope, I think, the scheme will find a lot of acceptance from that segment of the taxpayers who found filing returns more frequently. Request everyone to look into the futures of the scheme, understand it. I do feel that once you have the input as credit on your side and also you have cash outflow is very less, I think the scheme provides a lot of advantage to you. By opting for a fixed sum method also, sometimes you may tend to get a lot of the cash flow issues addressed. It may work individually to different segment of taxpayers in a different way, but we look forward that the scheme will receive wider acceptance from the taxpayer population, particularly from the MSME sector. Thank you, FKCCA, for providing this wonderful opportunity where we could interact with our taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Commissioner sir to say a few words. Then later, Mr. Manohar is FKCCA committee chairman also can speak a few words.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make a point that, as it is said, it is an optional scheme. Let taxpayers assessment individually of their position. because is there. They should not rush into something and then repent that they have taken this scheme. They want to because there is a policy gap. So study the scheme, see the benefit. There are a number of benefits for the taxpayers, but at the same time, it is a taxpayer friendly scheme because it is optional and it is not a mandatory scheme. So taxpayers should make an informed choice. And if they're comfortable in the present system, kindly continue. If they want to switch, please switch. And make an informed choice after knowing all the do's and don'ts of the scheme. That is my only advice. And I request Manojji from FKCCI to please give maximum coverage about the scheme as well as the optional aspect to it, so that nobody is unnecessarily burdened if they do not want to. But still want to, they can go ahead. So this is my advice, and I look forward for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Manohar from FKCCA to give his address before concluding this particular. And before handing over to Manohar, I went through the question and answers section of this particular WebEx, and I saw most of the questions have been already answered. There's nothing further to read on that. That's why we are not adding on that question answer section. Now I'll over to Mr. Manohar to give the few address points on this QRMP scheme through FKCCA.
Thank you, Murli. Sir, it was a great day for tax. The WebEx on QR be very beneficial to small. ಹೊಸ ಕಾನೂನು ಬಂದಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಇಲಾಖೆಯವರು ಕಾರಣ ನಮ್ಮ FKCC ಅವರು ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನಾವು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಸಹ ನಮಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಸಹಕಾರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೂ ಅದೇ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಮಿಷನ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ರೂವಾರಿಗಿನಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ BV ಮುರಳೀಕೃಷ್ಣರವರು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವೇ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಇವಾಗ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸೌಮ್ಯ ನಮ್ಮ ಡೆಪ್ಟಿ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಟೀಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇ-ಗವರ್ನೆನ್ಸ್ ಇವರಿಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಯಶಸ್ಸು ಮಾಡಿದ ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ FKCCI ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಕಾರ್ಯಕಾರಿ ಸಮಿತಿಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ನನ್ನ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ನಿಮಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಮತ್ತು ರಾಜ್ಯ ತೆರಿಗೆ ಇಲಾಖೆಗಳ ಸಹಕಾರದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಮಾಡುವ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಕ್ಕೂ ತಮ್ಮ ಸಹಕಾರ ಬೇಕು. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಒಂದು ನೋಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಆ ನೋಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಬಂದಿರೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಡ್ ಡಿಫಾಲ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ತೆರಿಗೆದಾತರಿಗೆ ಅಸಮಾಧಾನವಾಗಿತ್ತು. ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿರಿಯ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಗಮನಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಾರಿಟಿ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ಈ ಥರ ಆಗೋದು ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಉಂಟಾಗಿದೆ. ಆದರೂ ಸಹ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ತೆರಿಗೆದಾತರು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಬೋನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅವರ್ ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಕಲೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಎನಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಬೋನ್ ಫಾರ್ ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ಗೆ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪದಗಳನ್ನ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಿ ಒಂದು ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಕೊಡೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ, ಒಂದು ವಿವರ ತಿಳಿಸೋದಾಗ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದೊಂದು ಸಲಹೆ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಕೇರಳ, ತಮಿಳುನಾಡು ಮತ್ತು ಆಂಧ್ರಗಳ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರುಗಳು ಸೇರಿದ್ರು. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಒಂದು ರೂಪುರೇಷೆಗಳನ್ನ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡಿದ ನನ್ನ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿ ಜವಳಿ ಅವರು, ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ IS ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ನಮ್ಮ ವೈಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್, ಸೀನಿಯರ್ ವೈಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಅವರು, ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಮನೋಹರ್ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಶುಭ ಸಂಜೆ.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, each and everyone, and making this particular webinar successful. And I should heartfelt thanks to all the participants who attended this particular webinar till now. About 346 participants are there still now. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.